I'm Catherine Corelli. This is my regular Wednesday weekly chit chat live stream. As usual, I'm waiting for it to come through, and there we are. It seems to be going through finally. And here we go. It finally got a little warmer today. And it's probably going to get warmer in the following days, it looks like, which is cool. Sounds kind of weird. I'm actively writing the 8th chapter of the book. I want to remind everybody who will be rewatching this later, perhaps, my regular subscribers, that if you want to become my beta reader, not writer, then reach out to me, give me your email, and I'll send you a PDF of the book as it stands right now. Someone is watching. Thank you for chiming in. What's up? I've been buried in writing, frankly, and in painting for this past several days, and been just completely in the zone. So it's almost like I didn't even notice that a whole week had passed, really. It feels kind of weird how time flies, frankly. And so many things are happening in the world. And I was also carving out some shorts out of my previous live streams. And I think this live stream, having the experience of the past 2 live streams, I'm just not going to engage with certain content. I'm just going to block and ban very quickly. 2 people are watching. Thanks for showing up. How are you doing, guys? I'm having my Wednesday chit chat as per usual. And for those who don't know, I'm a singer-songwriter, I'm a painter, and I'm a writer nowadays. I'm still trying to catch up on my writing schedule. I somewhat succeeded 3 days ago. I was able to get ahead of my schedule, and it allowed me a couple of days to actually get into painting, to get back into painting and into some music. And then something happened. I currently have a technical problem with print service that I'm using. So he says, oh yes, it's cougar time. Uh, 28 viewers. Thanks for the likes. Thanks for everybody who's showing up. Hi, where are you from? I'm in Kentucky. Currently, I'm originally from Russia, from Moscow, Russia. Where are you from? And how is it going for you today? Someone retracted their message already. Hey, how are you doing? Says Sally Thompson. Said, hi to you. Doing great. Having my Wednesday weekly chit chat, sitting here and talking to you people. You're free to ask me questions. I expect you to be respectful, however, or else you'll get banned. It's that simple. I love your accent. Thank you. Can you guess where am I from originally? Do you weld, melt, shape metal? Is part of your art? No, actually, I don't do that kind of stuff. I wish I could. I mean, that would be an interesting thing to do. I wish I could do sculpting. But it's just, first of all, time is not an endless resource. I'm already a painter and a singer-songwriter. And that was predominantly what I was doing most of my life. And now I'm a writer also. And when it comes to painting, I build my own underframes. I prep my own canvases. I make my own frames. So, and there is only so much time per day, and it's already a lot of things. I wish I could do other things on top of this, like sculpting. I'd love to do sculpture as well. And I'd love to do, welding and something else in addition to this. But I don't know if I can pull it off really. St. Petersburg, no, I'm from Moscow. I'm originally from Moscow. I'm currently living in Kentucky. Don't write messages, pals. I can't see what I want to see. I love your accent, Sally Thompson says. Well, there, I've answered your question. 33 people are watching. Thank you guys for showing up. So we have a lot of traffic today. What's your favorite color? Let me think. Traditionally, my favorite color has been always orange, bright orange. I love orange. That doesn't mean that I don't like other colors. I do, but orange is my top choice, frankly. Jay Sink says, hey, what are you doing right now? I'm hosting a weekly chit chat live stream. That's what I'm doing right now. What are you doing right now? Jay Sink. Just guessing you're from India, probably. Orange got a bad name nowadays. Yeah, I know. But, I don't care. Orange has always been my favorite color. And I just like it. It's a fiery color. And I also like fire. I like to burn, I like to make bonfires in my fire pit in the backyard. Proud American AXC says, hey. I subbed and liked, says Jay Singh. Thank you. Love your show, says Toto Boy. Thank you very much. I really appreciate this. Hey, Proud American. How are you doing? What's up? I also like black, to be fair, but orange, I like the combination of, imagine deep purple or violet, and then on top of it, when you have splashes of orange, and so it kind of makes the orange glow. I'm doing great. What we are up to here? Well, I'm just hosting a weekly chit chat live stream. That's what I do every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern time. I just turn on my camera, I sit down here, and I answer to questions. Sometimes we have interesting discussions. I'm trying to avoid certain topics because it can get ugly quickly, and a lot of people are disrespectful. So I prefer to avoid politics, religious topics, and all of this. Is your process of painting relatively same, or does it differ a lot depending on every painting? It sort of depends, frankly. I think over the past 2 years, I've modified my process largely. And sometimes, for example, I do a very rough underpainting. I cover a lot of ground right away, and then I use a rag and I wipe out sections of the underpainting. And this is how it goes, and then the entire painting turns out to be more loose, and I like it that way. But then the reason why I'm saying it depends is because different paintings have a different energy. And like songs, because some songs, I just have a riff playing in my head, or I have a hook melody that just springs out of my mind into the instrument or into a vocal line or something like this. And it demands of me to act fast. So I have to sit down and I have to write the whole arrangement really fast without even knowing the lyrics. Same thing with paintings. Some paintings, they take more time because I really have to figure out how do I even go about this. And others, they just sort of jump out of me. And so the approach differs, you know, even though more or less it's the same technique, maybe I don't particularly stick to like the, you know, the classical artist technique, really. I modify things, and frankly, I want to get more loose with things. I consider getting me some acrylics for the underpaintings, just for texture and for the speed of it, you know, and maybe some spray paint, and then paint oil on top of acrylics. You know, I want to experiment with things. But yeah, you know, depending on the painting, depending on the vision and how I feel about the subject matter, my approach differs. And I want to experiment. I like to experiment a lot, frankly. Trooper says, Rehab, are you a Disney princess or a villain? Frankly, and I will probably shock some people, I'm not a fan of Disney at all. Actually, I've developed a huge disliking for Disney characters since I was a little kid, because my parents worked in traditional animation, and I was exposed to Disney production, to the old Disney cartoons when I was little. And so I liked that, but then over the years, you know, there was just a shit ton of Disney production, and because of the specifics of, you know, the profession of my parents, maybe I've just seen too much of it, and then it was all over the place. You know, in the 90s in Russia, it flooded, you know, the toys and the merchandise and all of this, and it just got so, it's just all the same stuff. It's the same gag reels and cartoons. It's the same scenes. It's the same animation. It's the same characters. It's the same cutesy eyes. It's the same cutesy little bandies. You know, it's all the same stuff. And so, frankly, I just got, over the years, I got sick of it. So I have nothing to do with Disney. I'm not a fan of Disney Studio at all. I don't like Disney cartoons. I like something different. It's just not my thing. You know, I know a lot of people are into this. I don't mean to insult anybody, but I'm just saying, you know, am I a Disney princess or a villain? I'm neither. Frankly, I think I'm a different archetype altogether. If you're talking about archetypes, I think I'm sort of both, maybe, or maybe neither. Proud America says, awesome, you like to travel. I do love to travel, but I haven't traveled in a while, and I hate it, frankly. Judging by your question, you do like to travel. Can I take a screenshot of your beautiful face, please? Well, I guess you can. I mean, I can't. You will do it anyways. Why are you even asking? Hello, says Funk Congress. Funk Congress, that's a funny handle, Funk Congress. Hello to you. Nice to meet you. Derek says melt. I don't know, what does that mean? Victor Money and okay. My wife paints. I do music. Thank you for the thorough answer. You're welcome. You're very welcome. I'm more than happy to talk about topics like this, you know. Proud American says, oh, what? You were exposed to Disney? Yeah, I was exposed to Disney productions since I was, what, 8, 9, 10 years old. I was born in Russia, you know, and so in the late 80s, early 90s, we were flooded by older Disney movies, you know, everything that was previously behind the Iron Curtain. It started to flood in, and some of it was cool, and with a lot of it, I was fascinated as a little kid and as a teenager, and not only me, but a lot of my peers, a lot of Russian millennials, you know. But then some of it didn't age well. Let's put it this way. Not even Mickey Mouse short tales. Oh no! Oh please, Mickey Mouse. I mean, it's just so much of it, and you know, don't get me wrong. There's another aspect to it. Because my parents worked at a then Soviet animation studio, the biggest Soviet animation studio, actually. I was trying to learn traditional animation when I was a kid and when I was a teenager. So I actually had to study these characters like Mickey Mouse and Goofy and et cetera, et cetera. And so to me, cartoons weren't entertainment, weren't pure entertainment. It was my parents' job, and I worked with my mom in traditional animation later on in the early 2000s. So, when it comes to animation, when it comes to cartoons, I can't view it purely from a consumer's viewpoint, from a viewer's standpoint, because I actually worked in it. You know what I mean? I know the process. I might be not hip to the kind of technologies that are used nowadays because it's been 20 years. But I worked in traditional animation. I know a lot of cartoons. I know about different technologies, different approaches by different studios. I understand motion. I understand what it takes to draw that motion. So to me, it wasn't just entertainment. And part of it was work. And then another part of it was just I was just a little overexposed to things, you know what I mean? So that kind of wiped out some of that joy. I had this same experience with video games because, a lot of people are huge fans of World of Warcraft, for example. And I like that game to a certain extent. But my first experience with World of Warcraft was in 2007 when I actually worked in the game. I was farming gold for real money. It wasn't even my account. It was a part-time job. I was given a character and I was running around, and farming gold and resources in World of Warcraft. So to me, it wasn't really a game. Back in those days, I was working for a magazine as an art designer. I was babysitting simultaneously. That was my other job. And then on top of this, I was doing freelancing, copyright stuff, music writing on the side. And on top of this, I was also farming some gold in World of Warcraft. So, Disney dipped into oh yeah, not only this, but it's just from an artistic viewpoint. I mean, they're just endlessly replicating the same stuff over and over again, and at some point it gets boring, it gets old. Let's see. Me UK, me Roblox. You play me. I'm on Verge caving in. Okay. Yeah, I love to travel. I travel to nature, helps me connect to myself. Yeah, that's a great way to connect. Ah, gosh, I wish I could travel the world, really. And I certainly miss Europe. I miss the Mediterranean, and I certainly miss Moscow. The 1880s. What are we even talking about, guys? Can I see the painting at the back? It's not finished. It's work in progress. So there it is. This painting is following my book. I'm going to paint a huge series of paintings to accompany my book. And so that is one of the characters with a donkey. You like Bob Ross? And do you like old paintings like the creepy one of Ivan the Terrible and his son? Yeah. I like a lot of painters. You'll be surprised, but I like what is called in Russian Sotsrealism, Soviet art, a lot of sort of neo-impressionism, social realism. Early 20th century, I do like creepy art. I do like Giger also, on top of like a lot of traditional art. I do love Impressionism. It appeals to me. I like loose brushwork. I love John Singer Sargent, of course. I mean, I do like. I like a lot of modern painters too. I think there is a lot of exploration going on and a lot of interesting approaches. Um, I wouldn't say that I'm really into like classical art, even though I studied it extensively back at art school and over the years. I have tremendous respect for classical artists, especially from the Renaissance era. Of course, I do. But I also like different kind of art, like folk art and cave art. Even I mean, there is tremendous beauty to cave art, and it fascinates me. Are you a trans woman, Catherine? Yes, I am a trans woman. Yummers, I could tell. I think I can't speak English. Sometime it goes too hard. Okay. Hey, what was your favorite classic Disney short? I never had a favorite classic Disney short, frankly. Yeah, you saw Disney as a business. We saw it as an audience. It happens. Can't blame you for that. I only like Disney because of the Pixar Cars movie. Well, I get it. I mean, that's just what it is. When you work in something, you just can't see it otherwise. And to a certain extent, I have this same experience with music because for the most part, I was doing music all of my life, all of my adult life. So you develop a certain way of hearing music. And like, for example, the ridiculous of things, like it's hard for me to go to a restaurant sometimes. I don't want to go there. I don't want to go and hang out somewhere when there's music playing because my mind analyzes that music in the background. And when it's something stupid, some country pop, country rock, whatever, whatever blob is going on there, it kind of weighs on my brain. It's hard for me to focus. I start to feel tired. I get exhausted. When it's good music, then in the back, I'm listening to that good music, while at the same time trying to maintain a conversation. And sometimes it's just way too distracting and overwhelming. And it might sound very weird, but me being a musician myself, I oftentimes just enjoy silence because there is music playing in my mind usually. There are ideas, there are tunes, there are different different mixes that I'm imagining in my mind, and people who don't do this kind of stuff, they oftentimes don't understand this and they can't imagine how distracting it can be, you know. While I lived in the big city, and I lived there for most of my life until the last 7 years, whenever I would go out, for grocery shopping or, in public transport or anything like that, I would always carry my headphones and I would always listen to something just to isolate my ears from whatever music is playing around, because it's a lot of noise. Someone is playing music in the minibus. Someone is playing music at, by a metro station or something like this. And it's just, I don't want to hear that, I don't want that frigging retarded pop tune drilling my brain because I have other ideas right now and I don't want to forget this. Or I want to listen to Slipknot, in my headphones, and I don't want to listen to pop. You know what I mean? So it's kind of complicated. Damn it. But yes, whenever you actually work with something, it adds a certain spin to life. I love Mickey Mouse and Goofy, lol, goosh. I also think that in the early 2000s, when Iraq happened, when war in Iraq happened, and when Yugoslavia happened in the 90s, myself and a lot of peers back in Russia, we started to see things like Mickey Mouse and Goofy and all of this as rather as symbols of American imperialism. So it kind of became to us, I don't know, almost a joke that you can't take seriously. You can't, I personally couldn't. I just couldn't get completely immersed in elements of American pop culture without simultaneously letting go of the actual events that were happening in real time, you know? So there is this too. Don't watch Disney, please. What is your first language? My first language is Russian, but my father taught me English since I was very little. The thing is, however, is that he taught me British English, not American, and so I have a weird sort of accent, you know. Plus, I spend a significant amount of time learning French. Again, as a kid, and then later as an adult, I was learning it myself, and nowadays I'm learning Greek. So my French is pretty rusty. Of course, as a native speaker, I'm fluent in Russian. English, you know, I don't know. It's kind of a second language, maybe first language to a certain extent. I don't know. It's complicated. I used to when I was a kid. What's a transdisciplinary artist? You trans? Yes, I am a trans woman, and I'm also a transdisciplinary artist. And what that basically means is that I'm a singer-songwriter, I'm a musician, I'm a painter, and I'm a writer. And I do all of these things, and it's not that I'm rotating between these directions. I'm sort of doing all of them at once because, you know, when ideas come, I feel that different ideas require a different medium for expression. That's what it is. And I remember 25 years ago, roughly 25 years ago, my music theory teacher told me, hey, you got to focus on one thing and actually just, you know, do that one thing. And at the time, I thought he was right. I tried to follow his advice. And then over the years, I figured that it might be the correct advice for some people, but it's not correct for me. I just start to feel myself too boxed and too secluded in just one activity. And then I feel limited, and then it just weighs on me too much. And I have to expand, and I have to go into dangerous water. I have to challenge myself, you know? And ultimately, it's about the ideas. You know, I can say certain things in my songs. I can write it into lyrics. That's poetry, you know? It's a form, it's a medium, but it has its own limitations. You know, the way you can say things, the way you can rhyme things, the way you marry that with music, that's one thing. And music is a dynamic form of art. It happens in real time. That's pretty cool, but it has its own limitations too. Painting is a completely different animal, you know what I mean? So in painting, you can say things that you can't say in music. And painting, drawing, doing this kind of thing was my second occupation throughout my life. I was doing a lot of freelance work, you know, designing, drawing, painting for someone, doing this kind of gigs. And then writing is different again. It's a different medium, and it allows for a whole other level of expression. So I don't know if I've answered your question. I guess that's what they call transdisciplinary artist. That's pretty interesting. Could you elaborate more on how to break into this business? Wait, what are we talking about? How to break into this business? Are you talking about animation, or are you talking about painting? What are you talking about? You're pretty awesome, so creative. Love to meet you here. Thank you very much, Proud American. I have never scrolled and found your channel before, so I have no idea of your story, but I just want to say you are beautiful. Thank you very much, Joanne James. You ever had a younger lover? Okay, that's a little bit of a weird question. I don't think I want to talk about this. Mayan Kurma says, "Hi, Catherine. Hi to you. You'll realize, oh gosh, some people. You are an artist. Amazing. Yes, I am an artist. Do you live in a garage? No, I don't live in a garage. But I spend a lot of time in the garage because I use it as my studio, and I love to sit here with my laptop and work. Bluegrass music? Do I look like I listen to bluegrass music? Holy cow. Gosh, just on so many past live streams, people were asking me about music, and I said it so many times. I love death metal. I love Gojira. I love Slipknot. Hey, I've been a Slipknot fan for a long time. I love Korn. Um, I also like me some progressive metal like Dream Theater, but more so in the old days. I wouldn't say that I'm listening to Dream Theater nowadays. Ginger, I love the band Ginger. I like Sleep Token a lot, actually. I like Sleep Token. I like EDM music. I like um, Blue Stally. I like Cell Dweller. I like Marilyn Manson. System of a Down, listened to it a lot in the past. Actually, a lot of bands. A lot of interesting bands. Suicide Silence, Bring Me the Horizon to a certain extent. But I also like to listen to popular music. And as a teenager, I listened to a shit ton of Radiohead, for example. Coldplay, not so much, not my thing. Really, Radiohead is experimental. That's interesting. Also, Placebo, Garbage, the band Garbage. But bluegrass music, I'm sorry, I don't mean to be offensive. It has never been my thing. I just, I can't. Classical music, sure. Rachmaninoff, Tchaikovsky, Shostakovich, Prokofiev, Russian composers are my favorite composers, actually. Grieg, Edward Grieg, sure. First piano concerto. But bluegrass music, no. Folk music, African drums, African percussions, Middle Eastern music, Iranian music. Yes, I like all of these things. You're so beautiful, says Lemon Lover. Thank you very much. Hi, good evening. Chukwa Henry says. Random. Linda Franklin, please people don't be so shallow as to dwell on identity. Enjoy the knowledge. She appears. Thank you, Belinda. Well, I mean, there's a lot of people like this, and I see them every freaking live stream. People show up and they just, they just say things. Peace be upon you, says Hilmer Firdaus. Peace to you too. My name is Henry. I'm from Nigeria, says. Okay, and you? Well, you can. Don't you see whose live stream are you on? Gosh, some people just surprise me, really. Also talking about Russia, I love Russian culture too, though I don't know much about Russia, but I like the Balkan folk music. Wonderful. Hey, I would actually invite you to go and visit Russia. In all seriousness, I'm not joking. I know there's a lot of Russophobia going on in the West right now, and a lot of people just really don't know what are they talking about. Because and that's something that I myself didn't realize as a Russian until I moved to the United States. I didn't realize how many Americans, specifically, they were just told all of their lives that Russians are evil, Russians are bad, Russians are crazy, Russians are commies, whatever. But they've never been neither exposed to any Russian history or European history by and large, And most of the people don't know, about the culture, about the people, about the traditions, about, all of, and there's just a lot. So I usually invite people to just, explore and maybe start with, some online exploration and go and visit some I don't know, just read up some stuff. There's Russian literature and music and history and poetry and painting and all sorts of things and cinema. And then most importantly, the Russian people. And I would encourage a lot of people to just go ahead and book a trip to Russia and go visit. Of course, nowadays there are logistical problems. Like probably it's going to be there are no direct flights between the United States and Russia, but you can go to the Balkans, and then from Serbia, for example, you can fly to Moscow or St. Petersburg, no problem. I can see that I make some people very uncomfortable, but that's okay. Oh, Patrick, hello. Hi, Kat. I see. I'm here for the crazy ones before you block them. We gets dir. Gosh, I'm trying to read German. I don't know if I'm reading this right. I don't think that I understand what you say. We gets dir. Hello, Catherine. How are you doing? Ayush Kumar, glad to see you. Doing pretty fine. Sitting here. Proud American says exactly. I was into music production as well, just as a hobby, and happens to me exactly. Can't let music stay out of my brain. So you get it. You know what I mean? Pershawash Khan says, hi. Hello, ma'am. How are you? I'm wonderful. Thank you for checking in. I'm trying to catch up with the comments and so that we're kind of on the same page. Proud American says, and what is a trans woman or a trans person? Oh gosh. How do I explain this? I mean, I've talked about this so much, and I mean, I don't want to make this stream about this again. Or a trans person. Let me try to keep it short and sweet. I know that some people are not going to like what I'm going to say because it's kind of a hot topic. It's a hot button issue in the West. And I know that, a lot of people make a big fuss about, identity and all of this. And there's a lot of identity politics attached to it. And there are the right who are usually bashing all the trans people and other people who are just not exactly fitting neat boxes. And then on the other side, there are people who are glorifying certain behavior, and there is a lot of loonies who want to be special, and so they slap a label on themselves, and they run around and they claim to be someone, whatever. There is a lot of layers to this, but at the bottom of it, there is a simple truth. Trans people, and let's just say, I kind of don't like to call it trans people, let's say other people who are born a certain way. And I'm talking globally. I'm not talking about the United States. I'm not talking about the West. I'm talking about globally, because this is a global thing about any human population. There's a percentage of people who don't neatly fit in for a variety of reasons. Some of it is because, inborn conditions, and others is because some males are feminized and some females are masculinized. And we're talking about in utero. We're not talking about like social conditioning. We're not talking about like, social engineering or, propaganda. No, we're talking about in the womb. And then they get born with certain characteristics, and you can't shake it off because it's in your bones. It's innate. There's not a lot of these people. Like I said, the West makes a big fuss about this. The problem that I see here personally, me myself as a trans woman, is that the West glorifies, weaponizes, or victimizes certain groups, be that, gender, identity, whatever. be that blacks, browns, whites, whatever. It's always divide and conquer. It's always this patchwork of labels and whatever, a whole bunch of them. And someone uses these groups to stir division and animosity within the society. That's the big problem that I see. On top of it, there is another layer. There is an apparent mental health crisis going on all across the West, and not only the West. Again, it's all over the modern world. Is there a problematic? Because there is a huge pharmaceutical industry. There is, generally speaking, a problem with the modern approach to treating mental illnesses. Kind of sedating people instead of actually addressing the core issues. You know what I mean? Again, it's another huge topic. There is a lot to talk about. Then, because of the environment and the chemicals and all of this in foods, in the supply chain and all of these things, then you actually have a proliferation of people getting born with certain conditions and people being genetically affected by these factors. So that's another layer of things. I mean, that's why I say I don't necessarily like to talk about this. I like to point out to people who are ignorant, or who get triggered about, oh, there is this, other people, like, who are you, a boy or a girl or whatever. Guys, this has existed historically since ancient times. It never went away. It's not a modern thing. Yes, there is a layer of propaganda on top of this. There are the deniers of the fact, and then there are the people who are pushing this agenda on the masses. I think that both of these things are horrible. Absolutely freaking horrible. Not to mention that it flattens the discussion into a paper thin sort of thing that lacks any depth, lacks any historic context, and it treats people in a horrible way. And there's a lot of topics like this which lead to this division. This is just one of them. Love Slipknot, it keeps you locked in. Lol. Oh yeah. I love Slipknot, especially the Iowa album. I don't know, I love the sound there. It's just so good. And I love to sing Slipknot. And apparently, Slipknot had quite an influence on my music. Oh, my brain switched. How are you doing? Well, I'm doing great, more or less. I've been working a lot on my book this week, and I kind of forgot about the time. I was really surprised to discover today when I woke up that it's Wednesday and that I'm supposed to go on a live stream. I woke up, I opened my eyes, I looked at the phone, and I'm like, oh, again? Peak opinion. Juno's goofy. Hello, Kat. Busy at work. Hope you're doing well, Mr. N. Very glad to see you on my live stream. Let me catch up with the comments. What pure nonsense. Okay. Nice to see you again, Catherine. Adef Busnina. Oh, glad to see you too. Thank you for showing up. You're beautiful, says Juno is goofy. Thank you. Thank you for the compliment. Then there is a lot of stuff that was deleted. I see, Mr. Ren, thank you very much for moderating the chat. I really do appreciate this because some people are just, oof. And I'm trying not to react to this today. I want to keep things positive. How many decades old are you? I am 20 decades old. So if you're 20 decades old, that means that you're 200 years old, all right? Ashra, oh my God. Hi from South Africa, Cape Town. Hi to you. Hi to you. Shauna McFadden says, respect. McFadden. I'm sorry, I don't know how to read your name. You're beautiful. Thank you, John Doe. Have respect. Yep. What's your opinion on the RuPaul skull situation? God, guys, I'm so out of the loop on things. I'm kind of, I was mostly looking into the Epstein thing, not into RuPaul, so I I frankly don't have time for RuPaul, and I don't care. There are things that are a lot more important, and with all the files that came out right now, I think people should be paying a lot more attention. I think, and there's one thing that I wanted to say. I seen a reel today on Instagram, and I think it was pretty on point. Someone pointed out that, people notice the abuses, the PDFs, and all this, you know what I mean? But then they don't see the bigger picture. It's kind of important because there is a lot there. There is a big picture that reveals a lot about so many people, about the systemic nature of the abuse that millions live in. It's not just about the children. It's not just about the money circulating here and there. It's a lot bigger, and people seem to not notice this. So I'm sorry, I'm not in the loop on RuPaul. There are more exciting things going on right now. Are you lesbian? Says Yasumizuki. No, I'm not lesbian. Annabelle the doll says, hi to you. Nice to see you. That's a yes, says Louis with shoes. It's beautiful when you talk about art. Thank you, Patrick. Well, I like to talk about art because that's something, that's my life. You're a Spaniard or European? Martin Lopez says you're Spaniard or European. That's interesting. So as far as I remember, Spain is located in Europe. So that's an interesting way to put it. Are you Spanish or are you a European? I'm Russian. Hello from Toyota, Japan. Hello. Is Toyota actually a town? Pardon my ignorance. I loved your iconic role of giving the apple to the Snow White. Huh? Huba Huba, favorite Motown artist? I don't know. I'm not familiar with the Motown genre so well as to name a favorite artist because I don't have one. South Arcade is a new up-and-coming band you should listen to. I will have to check them out. Thank you. It's not very cool. There's a spider on the wall behind you. Maybe there is. Actually, there's a lot of spiders in Kentucky. Oh my, what am I looking at? No joke, bro. You do look crazy. Oh my god, that spider is... I love the Russians. I support them. Big fan of Русский folks. Good. I actually think that people, the Russophobia thing is kind of, and not only Russophobia, there is also Islamophobia, there is also the phobias that are propagandized in the West to a large extent, and in Russia too. There is a lot of, how do you even name it? Western phobia, I guess, in the former Soviet bloc. There is a lot of this. I think the remedy for this is critical thinking. It's critical thinking and education, because if people dare to unplug from the mainstream narratives, and if they actually dare to venture beyond that and try to educate themselves and look into history and be courageous enough to explore other cultures, it leads to more open-mindedness. And I think more of this should be happening, really. I mean, after all, it's kind of ridiculous. We're living in the 21st century. We have the internet, damn it. We have all of these technologies, and so many people are still ignorant, and they still just sit there like sheep, and they consume whatever they're told, and they just believe it. That to me is wild. It's freaking crazy. So many people are freaking out right now with the files that came out. I was looking into this 2 years ago, and others were looking into this 2 years ago, and into other things. A lot of people who couldn't unglue themselves from the TV, frankly. And mind you, by the way, I don't even own a TV. I never owned a TV. I don't care. But these, consumers of mainstream information, to them, it comes as a shock. Isn't that interesting? All I'm saying is people should try to be more open-minded. And I am appreciative, I'm extremely appreciative of that you, proud American, that you are exposing yourself, that you're curious enough to look into other cultures, and of course into my culture, into the culture of my motherland, Russia. Thank you. Hello, ma'am. How are you? I'm great. Thank you. Jimmy Kershaw says, love Russia. Love to you. Thank you very much. Good morning, evening, says insert name here. Insert name here, Brent. Now it's in your here. Does Sweatcoin, oh my God. I get it's new for me. Leave it if you don't want to talk about the trans thing. My bad, I'm sorry. It's no big deal. It's just, I don't, it's a large, difficult, complicated topic. It's multi-layered. There's a lot of things to point out to. And I generally speaking just don't like to flatten a complex thing into, I don't like to squash it into something simplistic. The way this topic is treated in mainstream culture nowadays is way too simplified. There's a lot more to it. Now, what is this? What is best milk in world? Oh my God. And a good damn artist. Thank you, Patrick. Thank you. How many codes change light bulb? Skull, eyebrows. And the Middle East, except you, someone. Oh, I see. Okay, here is one guy that goes right away. I'll have to look into YouTube filters and just ban certain words so that people just can't say them. Not related, but I like your eyebrows. Thank you. Said hi, Gen X Chimney. Hi to you. Thanks for telling me all of that, Catherine. Love your personality. Thank you very much. Hey, I'm just being myself. I'm just trying to honestly present things the way I see them. I think it is important. I frankly don't care how many people are going to dislike me for saying what I have to say, or how many people are going to like me. But I feel that I have to say what I have to say. That's where I am with my songs. I'm always honest. I'm trying to be, to the best of my ability, whatever I know, whatever I understand, whatever questions I'm posing, I'm genuine. Any instrument in specific you love to play around when composing music? I used to compose mostly using keyboards, piano, and in the older days when I was a teenager, I spent hours by the piano. But then, because I was studying music theory and I was very deep into that, I learned to memorize music, whatever ideas I have coming in my mind, and to write it down, as charts, as traditional charts, as in writing notes. I still do that. But a lot of the times nowadays, because I like to write guitar-related music, metal music as well, a lot of my songwriting nowadays is tied to different tunings of guitars. I have an 8-string nowadays, which I love a lot. And I have it in drop E. Sometimes I tune it to drop F. And but it has a different tuning. It has a specific tuning as compared to a 7-string. And I have two, well, they were my husband's 7-string guitars. They're tuned slightly differently. And that, again, it kind of stirs my imagination. So I like to pick up that guitar. And when I have an idea for a riff or a rhythm or something like this, I like to sit and play that riff and then figure out interesting ways to go about it. And different tunings, they yield different results. So that's a different way of thinking about writing music. The guitar way of thinking differs from the keyboard way of thinking, and it certainly differs from when you just sit in your DAW and you're like programming music, you're doing a string arrangement or, writing out some synths, some pads or whatever. That's completely different thinking. So there is a difference. And sometimes I just walk around and I just sing, I just improvise to ridiculous things. Like, for example, in summer, when there is a fan working there, I sing around that root note that the fan makes. So I'm in a key and I improvise a melody. I can sit there and I can hum and I can sing for half an hour, for an hour straight while doing something else. And out of this, something is born. And sometimes there's like, oh, that's exactly what I was looking for. That would be a cool melody for a hook, for a song that I'm working on. So sometimes I like to hum and sing and improvise to random sounds. You know what I mean? Sometimes I hear something from birds when birds are chirping outside. I imitate various noises and sounds of animals. I like to do this, and I like to talk to animals. So that's another way to play around with sounds, with noise, to make noise, to replicate something, and then to look at it not through a musical lens, but rather as texture, Favorite, it's hard to tell, any instrument in specific. Nowadays, there's a lot of guitar related stuff, I didn't play electric guitar until 2013. In 2013, I lost my voice. I had a surgical accident. My recurrent nerve got damaged. And one of my vocal cords was paralyzed. So I had to learn to speak and to sing again. And I spent roughly 7 years digging myself out of that. So nowadays, I can sing again, I can speak again, and I can scream again. I can do all of these things. But it took me 7 years of relentlessly pushing and pushing and pushing to rebuild. You will be my Valentine. No hate like... Oh yeah, Mr. Ren, you're exactly correct. I had all of that going on for the past 2 live streams. Just, I don't know where are these bots coming from. Holy cow. I love Mr. Ren. Yeah, Mr. Ren is cool. Illusion 9963. Hello to you. Good evening from France. Bonsoir à toi. Comment ça va, toi? David PMP. Hi, says, where are you from? I'm living in Kentucky nowadays. I'm originally Russian. I am from Moscow. What's up, baby? Hosting a live stream. Hey from Poland. Hey to you. Unfortunately, even though I'm Slavic, I don't know how to say hello in Polish, which is kind of ridiculous because some of my ancestors are from Poland. I took the walk to Poland. Hi, nice tattoo. Nice tattoo. Someone noticed that I have a tattoo. That's the only tattoo that I have. These are the tattoos. I was stupid. God damn it. I was living with my first boyfriend in the year 2008, and he had a tattoo, what do you call this? A tattoo machine or something like this. It was kind of I don't know what was it made of, whatever. Someone made it, so it was kind of a handmade tattoo machine. And I was kind of excited about this, and I tried it on myself because, you know, I wanted to try the needle on something. So I tried it on myself, and that is what I did back in 2008. And ever since then, I sort of regret this because I probably should cover it up, or I should get rid of it. I don't know, whatever. But those are the only tattoos that I had, frankly. Nice collarbones. Wow. You're into collarbones, I see. Love every country, Daniel says. Hey, Catherine, what's your opinion on the state of the world right now? Gareth Banks says, hi from England. Hi to you, Gareth. What's my opinion on the state of the world right now? I'm going to try to give you a summary, you know, not to talk for like half an hour or 40 minutes about this. I think the world right now is at a very important juncture. And a lot of things are being revealed as of right now. There are tremendous opportunities for humanity to see things that were previously concealed from the masses. That's a huge opportunity. Ultimately, I think it depends on the people of the world. If we open our minds enough to the truth of the systems that have been imposed upon us for centuries, if there is a mass awakening, then we can change this world, we can change course, and we can get out of what I see to be a centuries-long trap. It's a perceptional trap. It's a systemic trap. I think there's a lot of shifts on a lot of levels. It's not just geopolitics, it's spirituality as well. It is perception. It is civilizational shifts, societal shifts. There's a lot of things going on. It's messy, it's difficult, it's painful, it's dangerous, it's wild. And I think it's unprecedented. Even though, you know, the more I study history, the more I look back in time, you know, to the ancient times, like the times of the Romans and their conquests, times of Alexander the Great and the Parthian Empire, for example, Cyrus the Great. The more I realize that humanity has always been caught up in a lot of things happening. But now we just have we have the benefit of having so much technological advancements. And we have communication. We're sitting on a wealth of knowledge. And I think it's ultimately the course of humanity will depend on how ignorant or how curious each one of us are. That's what I think. Shout out from England. We love your president. I don't. Hello, Philly. Real talk, said Red Wave. On behalf of England, I'd like to thank Senator Kennedy for exposing Starmer. Well, I can see this. I can see your appreciation for exposing your Keith Starmer. I understand. I just want to kind of hint that it's a lot deeper. It's not just about your prime minister. It's not just about the president of the United States or the president of France or whatever. It's a lot bigger than this, guys. Don't, if I can ask you something, don't get too caught up in political preferences. That's not going to serve you very well. It's ultimately distraction. It's a lot broader than this. It's a lot bigger than this. What are your thoughts on AI music apps like Suno? Do you think they are helpful, or do you think it takes away from the realism of music? As a creative person, I can tell you that I think there are some uses for AI, limited uses for AI. When you can actually make AI do some technical stuff. Like, for example, I'm writing a book nowadays, and so running my texts through Perplexity to find inconsistencies, to find typos, misspellings, wrong grammar, stuff like this, that's helpful. But I would never outsource to any AI to write my book instead of me. Like, no, this is me, and I'm writing my book. The technicalities, sure, is very helpful. So, with music, I kind of see it this way too. I don't like it that platforms like Suno, they use artists' music, and then based on that, they generate something. This is pretty ugly. But I can see how AI can be used in music production, for example, to replace certain very boring tasks. When you sit there and you have to clear up, a vocal track, and not one vocal track, but you have vocal stems. You have 10 songs, and every song has, I don't know, 10 to 12 to 15 to maybe 20 vocal stems, and you have to get through all of them, and you have to clear out all the in-between space, and you have to make sure that everything is fine, and everything is faded in and faded out, and all of this. There are processes that can be automated, or at least to a certain extent can be automated or outsourced to AI. But the creative process itself, no, I don't like it. Patrick says, I love alternate tunings on guitar and bass. So you get it. So you get it. For example, a great songwriter who can't sing no longer need a face singer to give their music to the world. On the other hand, you have people having songs written by AI. I don't even see songs generated by AI as written. They are not written. And I think ultimately, the difference here is that when you actually write a song, or when you actually paint a painting, or when you actually write a piece of poetry, you, the human being, you literally put a part of yourself, you put your thoughts on paper. You make it into music. That's real and that's authentic. It requires a process. You can't just skip beats. You can write a bad song, sure. It's going to be a reflection of you, the human being, of your soul, of whatever's going on in your mind. And that's how it's supposed to be. Or maybe a group of people, I think what will probably happen is that this AI trend, this AI generated slop, because it's just slop, AI generated images, AI generated art, AI generated writing, copyright, this online stuff going on, AI generated music, there will come a point when it will all collapse, because it is slop. That's what it is. It misses something crucial. It misses the human presence. It misses the human imperfection, the human aspect, the lived experience. It misses those aspects, and nothing can replace it, I think. AI is a different kind of art when used by an artist. Without artists, it is 99% slop. Yes, exactly. Hello, I have a question. I agree, Patty. DMX used the dog bark in his music a lot. Yeah, and that's a creative way to go about it. There's also things like glitch art, for example. When you take something, you sample something, you remix it, you remake it, you rip it apart and then you use these particles to assemble something new. But I mean, it requires an actual artist to put something together. I mean, no matter how innovative this art is, for it to be actually art, to say something. Otherwise, it's just it's nothing. Do you think music can change people in a way that makes them adopt new patterns of behavior they didn't have before? Yes, it certainly does. Actually, there was a study that came out fairly recently about, well, it was about the opposite. It was actually saying that the thing that gets people stuck for the longest times, for the longest period of time, in their trauma, in their old way of thinking, and reliving their traumatic experiences is music. Because when people go back out of nostalgic feelings or whatever, they go back to the same track that they heard. I don't know, you were a teenager, it was your first love, you got traumatized or something happened, it was a bad experience with something. When you listen to the song that was your favorite song back then, you relive that experience again, because your nervous system doesn't know the difference between actually something happening and you re-exposing yourself to that through cues. Music is a very powerful cue. And so, but while this study was about this, I also think that conversely, it would mean that if you expose yourself to new music, then you can regulate your nervous system and you can, there is such a thing as brain plasticity, you can modify and you can change the way you think and the way you perceive. It will take time, but it is a very powerful tool. I love to sing, but every time I sing, I get the feeling that I need to buck. Why is it? Because music is filled with emotions, or what? Yeah, very well might be. Reed Wave, I feel like there's no soul on those songs that got written by. Yeah, there's just none. Don't listen to the negativity. Keep at it. You're doing the trans community proud. Thank you. Tired of everything new. Thank you very much. Feel like we Americans don't like what they are doing to you or your country. So I also agree with, okay, you guys are talking there. I'm not a bot. Hello from America. Ricky Clark, well, hello to you. Also from America, from Kentucky. I'm glad you're not a bot. Sorry, Kat, but there is a problem with hyperfixating on bad trans women like Chris Chan, where a mountain is being made out of a molehill by a right wingers. Oh yeah, I absolutely agree. There is a lot of this, and the bigger problem here is that this is this is how society is trained by and large. What I mean by this is that people see negativity first and they latch onto negativity. And this is what people are caught up in this. Because most of the news about anything, doesn't matter what that is that politics or is it cultural news or is it society or whatever, all of it is negative. It's rage bait. There's a lot of clickbait, there's a lot of rage bait. And people find themselves caught in this loop of being outraged about something all the time. You got to be hating something, People are constantly off balance because this is how things are set up. The way out of this is to not engage, to not give your time and not give your emotions to these things, to zone out of the rage bait. But this is why, I'm just, speaking of which, this is why right-wingers built a mountain out of a molehill, I think. Hello, how is everyone, says Jay. Good. Okay, Ricky, I'm in UK prison. Oh my God. A little behind in the live stream, which, oh God. Heck, don't answer that if you actually are. Okay. No Way Kentucky, shout out. Chris Hood. Yeah, I'm living in Kentucky. Shout out to you. The world's rhyme seems doomed. Straight up eating Chef Boyardee other than motherfucking can cold. Oh my god, Chef Boyardee. You decide the fates of many. Yes, that's right. No, I'm not Muslim. Again, religious topics. Everybody stop with this. No religious discussions. Last time I banned quite a few people. It's only okay. Guys, you know what? I think I have to wrap up this live stream. It's been an hour and 15 minutes. You're saying, yeah, you stop. Yep. I have to wrap up this. Yep. I just realized that it's an hour and 15 minutes. Guys, thank you very much for everyone for being here. Have a great day. Yes, Mr. N, thank you very much for chiming in. Patrick, thank you. Ayush Kumar, thank you. Thank you, everybody. And until next time, until next Wednesday. Ciao.